promised myself that I'm probably going to fail a keep, but I'm not going to call this ASMR2 as much as my brain wants me to. This is AMRS or AM2R.
AM2R.
The short for Another Metroid II remake. It is, we've talked about it a bit on the show. It is a remake of Metroid 2 for the Game Boy, done in Game Maker Studio by the lovely and handsome Milton Guasti. And it's available for free, or it was before Nintendo decided to take that down because they don't like people making their games in a way that they can't profit from. So, it is the unofficial enhanced remake of Nintendo's Game Boy Metroid 2, Return to Samus, and includes several new features, including redone graphics and music, a map system, new areas, and mini-bosses. So, this is the odd time we're going to do a non-Steam game on the CHAIRQUISITION, and a free game, nonetheless. So, let's kick it off. 1 chair means that it's garbage. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. 4 chairs means that it's awesome. We also got our categories of Doom, makes with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So, let's kick this off. Then did AM2R make with the working?
Yes, ASM2R blam did make with the working over here on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS box running a 4X kernel instead of the 3X sauce. That is standard with a 980 displayed at UHD. No real complaints with it. I mean, I tried. I really genuinely tried because I know our co-host on our Wednesday show really likes this game, and I wanted to poo-poo all over it, but I was unable. So, out of the box, no issues, at 1080p or UHD. Works like a charm. 4 chairs.
Yes, as I should have mentioned, as Strider is screaming in chat realm, this is available in Lutris if you want to pick this up and get sued by Nintendo. But on Fedora 24 with the AMD A10 5800K with the GTX 750 Ti, because I was playing this on the TV box. If you want to run this on a new version of Fedora, there's some work that definitely needs to be done. For you see, the engine that this game was built on uses a fucking old-ass version of the OpenSSL ABI, which is not supported in newer Fedora versions for good reason, i.e. the numerous number of vulnerabilities present with
deprecated?
So,
yeah.
The deprecated for good reason. So you're going to want to go to the an older version, in this case, the latest version of Fedora that supported that ABI was Fedora 17. So I grabbed the OpenSSL package. You gotta extract it. I have a bunch of commands in the show notes if you want to see how I did it. In short, you need a proper version of libcrypto, a proper version of libSSL, preferably 1.00i, which is the latest or the last version that supports that ABI version. Drop them in the games directory, set the LD library path to the current directory, and then launch AM2R. And after that, everything works great, unless you try playing it with some types of controllers. We'll get to that later. But on Fedora 24, it gets 2 chairs because there is quite a bit of doing involved.
And it begs the question, why is the game pulling libcrypto and libSSL if it doesn't have any type of multiplayer? But that's a question for another day. On my end, I'm running Ubuntu 1604, Ubuntu Mate 1604, with the FX8370E overclocked at 4.2 gigahertz and the GTX 1080, and it right out of the box. I didn't need to do anything, which probably speaks volumes regarding regarding how old the stuff is in Ubuntu, where it just runs out of the box, and in Fedora you need to do all of that. So for me, it gets 4 chairs.
Or just, having a bunch of very bad deprecated OpenSSL APIs enabled because, you don't want security on your Linux box. But that is 3 chairs for makes with working. Up next is Shiny and Sounds. Ben.
Well, you know how much we do enjoy our hipster pixel graphics here at L.G.C, and this did not deliver. Nay, it actually exceeded expectations, but that is in a good way for once. This is borderline hipster pixel perfection. It's a perfect example of what is possible when you target what the games actually look like versus, I played this on an emulator on, my 1080p screen, and I think that's what pixel looked like through a CRT film. No. This looks like, maybe if Metroid was released on the N64 DD. Look that up. It's actually a thing.
The double D?
Yeah, the D. Oh, yes. It is kind of brilliant. It looks legit. at 4K at 1080p. You sit back a bit, or you can put it right in front of your face organ. You still get the feel. I mean, the color palette's correct. The animations are just done with so much love. I mean, everything down to the arm, jump movements, the running mechanics, the Samus when she's chilling out, just like, the hell are you doing? Play with me. It's great. Sounds, it has them. They're Metroid. They're legit. Jordan is a huge fan of the pew pew pews. You can go back and check on our Twitch stream. I played a little bit of that last night. I mean, it did the job. Soundtrack is great. I think there was some talk about them releasing it as a standalone just to jam out with that. I could see that. Didn't mind it. I mean, it wasn't chiptune. It was just legit of what I would have expected it to sound like in that era. And I'm definitely going to be touching more on that later on. But shoddy in sounds. This thing's just spot the hell on 4 chairs.
Yeah, they wanted this to look and sound like Super Metroid. They done good. Not really much I can say beyond that. It looks like a Super Nintendo game. It sounds like a Super Nintendo game that it doesn't pretend to be anything more than that, and so it hits its mark. 4 chairs.
Oh yeah, they set out to make a game which looks and sounds like an improved version of Metroid II. They fucking succeeded. They nailed it. When it comes to the aesthetics on this fan remake, spot the fuck on. 4 chairs.
All right, that's 4 chairs for shiny and sounds. Up next is Control. Then
picked it up. Kind of curious because Administrator pointed out in chat, it's like, we are playing the unofficial Linux port of this game. It's like, well, all right. So I grabbed the X-Clone controller, and poked at it, and I was like, oh, things are moving. Oh, look, everything was mapped logically out of the box. Nothing really to worry about. Really, I kind of want to agree with what J-Man's going to say, with the muddy controls, but they're not muddy enough to where I have an issue with it. And I wasn't playing with the D-pad. I was playing with a hat stick, which, again, Jordan's like, I don't understand how you shoot that straight. But it was definitely a thing.
Vin Stone is a straight shooter.
Yeah, real complaint I have with it. And, maybe you want to argue with this, but when you jump, you do a jump, there is a micro freeze before you're able to run again. It is perceptible. It is there. It's a legit thing, and it annoys the ever piss out of me until I got used to it. And that's just because I had to get used to it in order to play the game because I liked it so much, but I'll tell you more about that in the fun section. For Linux, unofficial Linux port, this thing is going to get 3 chairs because I liked it. Now, to be honest, I didn't try rebinding the controls, but maybe Jordan had a different experience.
All right, so this is a bit of a diatribe. I'll dive right in. So it works with the Steam controller. If you're using SC configure, you start up the daemon, you set it to present to the OS as an Xbox 360 controller. Lo and behold, everything works out of the box. But as you'll discover really quickly, the positioning of the analog stick on the Steam controller is unfortunate because this game is a little sensitive when it comes to aiming up and aiming down. I've found oftentimes that when I'm just trying to walk in a straight line, I will be aiming down, which is annoying because I'll have to reseat my finger and then I'll get killed to death. So as you'll discover, this game requires a D-pad. So I figured, what controller has the best D-pad out there? I would say either the DualShock 3 or the DualShock 4. Sony has this lovely little patent on this little button style layout, which is fantastic for D-pads. And it does not work. I tried via Bluetooth. I tried via wired. The game does not detect it at all. So I tried the next handy controller, which was the Turbo Seizure controller. My third-party Afterglow Xbox 360 controller did not work. I actually had to go and dig out my old beat the fuck up on and raged on 360 controller that came with my Xbox 360 that I bought those many years ago. Plugged that in. Lo and behold, everything was working, but the controls are I don't know. I feel they're really muddy. There is that weird issue with the jumping. I find that aiming is problematic even if you're using the left trigger and bumper to aim.
And you watch me play it
respectively. Yeah, and I really just want that PS4 or the DualShock 4 D-pad because it is better than the crappy one on the 360 controller. But the controls do work for what they are, so they get 2 chairs.
Yeah, no, I tried with the Logitech F310. in both X input and direct input mode. You see that little switch there? That's what switches between the two. Didn't work. I tried with the NVIDIA Shield controller. I even ran Xbox DRV to get it to just, this is an Xbox 360 controller. Nope, didn't pick up on it. I followed Jordan's recommendation on the show notes and managed to get the mistress here to work with it. But like Jordan already said, it's not ideal because you really need a physical D-pad to have any sort of precise feedback. And the little nubs here on the left areola don't really give you that. Neither does the little
you run into the same problem
stick
that you do with the analog stick, don't you?
Yeah, it's the exact same problem because even if your finger slides just a little bit off of the little depression here, all of a sudden your character is aiming down and Samus is just aiming down. And that's...
Samus, the drunken bounty hunter.
Samus Aran, yes. So yeah, I eventually resorted to just playing the game with the keyboard, and it was painfully obvious I wasn't having a really good time playing it, but more on that later. So for me, it gets 1 chairs on the controls.
All right, so that's 2 chairs for controls. We got our final segment, fun. Ben, did you have fun playing AM2R?
Yes, ASMR 2 was definitely a fun game. I mean, if you enjoyed the original Metroid, it was the only one I ever played. I had it for NES, and I put fuckloads of time into that until... just the rumor mill got around to me. It's like, type in Justin Bailey, then you could beat it in 15 minutes, then you never played it again after that. You go on to Zelda 2. This game will absolutely hook you, and it will hook you with a hardness. Giggity. However, if you didn't enjoy the original Metroid, you, sir or madam, are damaged, rendering all further of your opinions invalid. Because you don't play a game like this looking for innovation. Actually, it's quite the opposite, really. It really is. I mean, you play a remake or an homage, and you judge it accordingly. I mean, what you're looking for is the developer's ability to recapture what made those old games so fuck-mothering special. The ability to tell a story, to do a thing with such massive restraints placed on them in a game that draws its DNA from something that was on a Game Boy, granted, more powerful than the original NES. Some people don't know that. This is brilliant. This is well done. Alright, maybe you're not into the story so much, but it's Metroid. You know what you're getting into. At least I did. This transported me. It's like, oh, I'm playing a more advanced version of the game I genuinely loved when I was like 7 years old. Just good stuff. And you say, oh, you're tripping on the nostalgia fumes, Vin. Vent them out and look at it objectively. And to that, I say, you know what? Peace among worlds, bitches. Peace among worlds. 'Cause this gets 3 chairs, and it deserves it.
I agree with Ben to some extent. Remakes are a tricky genre because you really have to capture what made the game so good in the first place and then improve on it with the benefit of modern technology. I think a game that really does this well, you guys are gonna roll your eyes, but Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Gold and Silver were my favorite games in the franchise, and when they released the enhanced remakes, they were even better. They kept the exact same game. They upgraded the engine, they updated the game math for all your Pokemon damages and whatnot, and then they just added stuff that made it better. Your guy follows you around, there's all sorts of new side quests and stuff that's there as enhanced. I feel this game kind of misses the mark because I feel that if I would have the exact same reaction to playing this game that I would to playing the original on the Game Boy. I didn't actually have a copy of Metroid 2 for the original Game Boy, so I may be a little off the mark. Feel free to correct me or state your opinion otherwise in the hate mail segment. That's what that's there for. But it's not a bad game by any means. It's a Metroid game. If you like Metroid, this is a game that you'll enjoy. I'm not personally too keen on the genre itself. I like the ideas of exploration and backtracking because you get stronger and you get more capable as time goes on. But I find that I just get kind of bored, looking around, getting lost, and trying to find that one fucking item or that one secret passage that I skipped over that would have made my life so much easier. Not a bad game. not a I had an okay time playing it. It's not something I'd go out of my way to play, but it definitely does a good job in capturing the feel of the game. It feels like an updated Game Boy game with mightier controls, 2 chairs.
Yeah, I kind of get what Jordan was saying. I played a lot of Pokemon Fire Red, and I very much appreciated the new things that it introduced to the old games, like the old Pokemon Red. But this game, I have mentioned several times before that I am tired of 2D platformers. I will excuse it if it does something different, like Starbreak and Salt and Sanctuary, or even Awesome Knots. Each of those examples of games I just mentioned are 2D platformers, which outside of typical platforming mechanics, they add something else into the mix. Starbreak is an MMO of sorts, Salt and Sanctuary has the whole Dark Souls clone thing going for it, and Awesome Knots is a MOBA, of all things. The 2D platforming is just a stepping stone in those games for the rest of the mechanics. And I know what you're going to say. It's like, Pedro, Metroid is a classic. It was this series and others that kind of refined the platformer genre, and they basically gave birth to the Metroidvania subgenre. And I agree with you. I do. I really do. We're not throwing chairs at Metroid II, though. We're throwing chairs at a fan remake. And this is where it really gets subjective. I can't help but feel like this would have been time better spent making a whole new game. Take the Metroidvania subgenre and the platformer mechanics if you really must, but do something original, or at the very least, different with your limited time on this planet. I used to enjoy platformers. I loved Castlevania on the Mega Drive. I loved Symphony of the Night on the PSP. I beat Alex Kidd in Miracle World on the Master System. But those were the days of technical limitations. Those platforms had severe technical limitations, which people were forced to get creative to work around. A fan remake of a Game Boy game on the PC, which adds very little of notice, is the literal antithesis of creative. In fact, I don't see why Nintendo would even waste time and money DMCAing this project, when it literally does nothing other than fuel the nostalgia-riddled people who would rather reminisce about the time when their bones didn't creak and had the brain cells to appreciate something new. So for me, it gets 1 chair.
All right, that's 2 cheers for fun, because Pedro doesn't understand the purpose of remakes. And
I do.
Them. Clearly you don't. But anyways, we tally all that up, and that is 2 chairs for AM2R. God damn it, I almost fucked it up, but I didn't. I got it right. I've kept my goddamn promise. So, gentlemen, final thoughts before I fuck it up.
Yeah, man. I like the game. I think the gentlemen or carbon-based entities, what have they... cisgendered, carbon-based, I don't know how that works these days. Yells at Cloud. Spent like 5+ years on this. I mean, it took forever to come out, and a lot of betas came out. This is a good game. I'm going to continue playing this. I want to beat this game. That is not something I get to say very often for a fan-inspired project of this type. And yeah, Nintendo, pull your head out of the ass and hire this person and quit being so pissy because they made something that you were no longer capable of fucking making. Hey, #Metroid level maker.
Yeah, if you enjoyed Metroid and Metroid 2 and haven't yet grown tired of people wasting their time dwelling on the past instead of doing something new and creative, and fueling the whole Kickstarter culture that we have right now, you'll probably enjoy this. But if you're completely jaded and cynical as I am, it's probably safe to give this one a miss.
It's a Metroid game. If you like Metroid, you'll like the game. That's really all I can say about it.